History offers many definitions of what it takes to be a great leader. A new book, Forged in Crisis, The Power of Courageous Leadership in Turbulent Times, examines the lives, successes, and failures of 5 historical leaders. It's written by Harvard Business School historian Nancy Koehn.
And looks at polar explorer Ernest Shackleton, who attempted to travel to Antarctica in 1914, the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, and abolitionist, social reformer, and writer Frederick Douglass.
Koehn also writes about German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He died in the fight against the Nazi dictatorship. And scientist Rachel Carson, the only woman in the group, Nancy. Carson looked at the dangers of pesticide, and she's credited with advancing the environmental movement. Forged in Crisis is published, we should tell you, by Scribner. That's an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which is a division of CBS. We welcome Nancy Koehn to the table, not because of the ties, but because this is a really good book. Because you, welcome.
God bless you.
God bless you, too. You said all of these leaders are made, not born, which I thought was interesting. They all faced a crisis and they went through it, but start with the leaders are made, not born.
They're made, and they're made in a way that begins often with some kind of adversity. Yeah. And the second piece that's really important is in the middle of the perfect storm, they say, I'm going to make something good of all these high winds and big waves. But the third component, which is really important, is that they find or stumble into a big, worthy, honorable mission. And the last piece of the making, and this is really important for leaders today, is they summon up and nurture great stores of emotional awareness and discipline.
They face the crisis and they walk through it and embrace it.
Absolutely, Gayle.
Let's start first with the explorer Ernest Shackleton, who was attempted to be the first to travel to the South Pole. What are the lessons from him?
One lesson that Ernest Shackleton learns, and it's very important today, is that all eyes are on leaders. So how they show up, how they carry themselves, whether they look confident, how they treat people, what eye contact they make, are things that people are taking cues from.
You said they feed off of your energy as a leader.
Absolutely. Because
everything you do.
Absolutely. And one of the important things Shackleton has to do is to manage the energy of these 27 men, to keep them away from the cliff of doubt and despair and discord. And that is a critically important message and lesson for leaders leading all of us through our own turbulence and all these crises that our nation is facing.
How about Frederick Douglass?
So Frederick Douglass, I think, learns a whole series of lessons, the most important of which is leaders have to learn to step into the fear, to take the first step and move into their anxiety, and then discover in that movement the strength and the power that they have, the resilience that they have within.
How are the lessons relevant today, Nancy? Because at one point you said in the book, sometimes it's best to do nothing.
Well, I think this is a terribly important lesson right now. All these leaders learn that when the emotional stakes are high, when the big issues are at hand, best not to do anything, because we don't make our best decisions in the heat of the emotional intensity. Best to wait, practice some discipline, and not sabotage our mission by saying or doing or disgorging something that's destructive.
Mm-hmm. You also say that leaders are often lonely. Even the best leaders have times where they're lonely and depressed, you said.
Absolutely. That was one of the most interesting things about doing the research. Each of these people struggle through dark nights of the soul. When they don't know what to do, they want to give up, and they're really confused. And yet, by a hair's breadth, none of them does. Yeah. And that has made all the difference.
That's especially true of Abraham Lincoln.
Absolutely, Charlie. I mean, as you know, he had deep, dark moments when he thought he couldn't go on. Right? He couldn't keep the Union together. And if he had given up, the course of world history would have been different, but he did not.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Nancy,
thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
Nicely
God bless
done.
you.
All these leaders still have continued impact on the world. I thought that was an important point to point out.
Forged in Crisis is on sale now.